Obviously, there's a lot of life material in this, and I guess my question is, at what point does the life material yield a story that you were trying to make a little bit more universal, or did you find that the more specific it was, the more universal it became?
That's exactly what happened, because I was very much just trying to tell the story of my mother and what I thought was a very unique character, and it turns out everybody's got one apparently. But yeah, no, I was very moved by, you know, how brave I thought it was that she had sold a house and moved 3,000 miles and started her life over. And the setup of the story is all true. I mean, and so many of the details in the movie are true. I mean, Susan wore my mom's tops from Chico's and
Really?
Drives my dad's red car, and his photo is that's my father, and you know, so there's so many things in the film that are true and based on truth, and then of course a ton of wish fulfillment. I mean, JK's character doesn't exist yet. And
He's probably out there.
We'll try, but no pressure, no pressure. But you know, there's obviously invention, and I wanted to give her a good time. You know, all the things that my mother has sort of threatened to volunteer at a hospital, offered Joy to pay for Joy's wedding. You know, all these
conversation happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth.
Where she was going to pay for your wedding.
I can give $13,000.
And you said no?
We talked about it for a long time. I kept using the excuse that I was waiting for my baby weight to go away for her to throw the wedding, and she still says, she's 4 now. When am I going to throw you a wedding?
No, it's just such a generous spirit. I mean, so much of what makes the character great obviously comes from my mother, and then of course Susan brought everything else to it and made it an entirely different thing.
How did Susan come into the show? How did you
Oh my
guys...
God, through God. I was sad because this was hard to get made.
Yeah.
And Joy and I were sad that it was so tough to get a film about a woman, I guess, of a certain age, I don't know, where it's truly her story and not...
Directed by a woman, produced by a woman. The doors didn't fly open for that?
You'd be surprised. I don't know. Now it's a thing. Maybe now it would happen, but I don't know. It was really tough at the time, and I just wanted to send it to Susan so bad that I just wrote a letter and sent it cold to her agent, unsolicited. And
we were really lucky because Shaney, Susan's agent... when Lorene told me she wanted to send it to Susan, I said, Shaney's mother is like such a meddler. She's tweeting and Facebooking all the time about her like Long Island Jewish mother that calls her all the time. And I said, she's gonna love this, you know? And I have to say, like, both JK and Susan's agents, you know, to get a movie like this made, nobody gets paid up front, as most of you know in this audience. And both of their agents were so supportive and loved this movie so much and really helped us, you know, get it to you both, and knew that it was an uphill battle to get made, but
Susan
was behind it, you know.
Susan, do you remember when you first heard about this or read the script?
Yeah, I was moved by it, and I thought it was surprising. Usually, you know, within the first 6 pages, you know what's going to happen, and there were a lot of little surprises in it, and I met with Lorene, and she was so passionate about it, which really is important, because I always ask a director, why do you want to make this film? And it's really surprising how many don't have an answer. She knew, and then I got this great little sizzle reel of her mom doing the first 5 minutes of the film, verbatim, shot by shot of what you see. We should run them side by side. And I was just like, wow, that really was the final step, because she was so great and funny and sweet, and you know, I just was like, oh yeah. So then we had to try to find, you know, a cast and the money and everything else, and JK got which was really so exciting, and then he got the Academy Award, and I called and I said, oh my God, is he still gonna do it? You know, are you sure he'll still do this little thing? And And he said yes, and then Rose was in, and so that really was, I don't think it could have been made without
No, everyone was
everybody.
excited to work with Susan. That honestly is how we got such an incredible cast together. I mean, people came out of the woodwork to just do one.
And all of those supporting parts, you know, I mean, like all the women and the stand-up comedians, and I mean, that was really special. Yeah,
Yay.
applaud for them. And that you
JK, I will never make this mistake. If I've made it in the past, I won't make it going forward. It's not a motorcycle, it's a Harley. You should never make that mistake.
Apparently, Lorene wrote it. I don't know. I never had been on one before, so.
Is that true? You look like you knew what you were doing.
Well,
You did.
the miracle of acting. and Clay Cullen, the stuntman, spending countless hours teaching me how to ride first a dirt bike and then a big road hog.
It looked very good. And what about the music?
Well, yes, the very fundamental guitar playing was actually performed by myself. Yeah.
That's great.
But I remember you asked, yes, applaud. I remember you had asked, how are you going to cover this? Because I really did learn the song. I was like, we'll get you.
I'll make sure and get the insert on my left
Yeah,
hand.
show the sweet frets.
Even though the name of the movie is The Meddler, this is not a judgmental look at this character. In fact, it's very loving. And we have seen a character like this in many movies, and it's a comic foil or held up to ridicule. And it's very clear from what you wanted to do, and Susan, the way you played it, that this is not somebody you should or even contemplate laughing at. How important was that in the very earliest conversations with Susan about what you wanted the essence of the performance to be?
I mean, we talked about certainly not treating it like a broad film and playing everything real, and this is a real person, and these are, you know, at least real reactions to situations. So we wanted to keep everything grounded and honest and vulnerable and real, and certainly she's playing a character, so all that's very tough to do while nailing the accent and among other things. Yeah, I mean, that was just vital to telling this kind of story. I mean, the entire point of the title, even though I hope people don't, you know, get scared off by it, certainly is to change what it means to be a meddler. Like, we should have a Meddler's Pride Parade, and Meddler's Day is coming up, and like, you know, like that. It's because of moms caring so much and having a lot of love to give and not knowing maybe what to do with it when children are grown and aren't asking for it as much, though we clearly need it. And, you know, I just like the idea that you get to see this woman when her daughter's not calling her back. And you know that a lot of it comes from loneliness, and it's ultimately about loneliness and trying to battle that by making connections with people, and also getting over things and coping with grief by caring for other people, and how you can feel better by making other people feel better, you know. And it's still not a selfless act, or it is a selfless act, you know.
Susan, you have a chance to see this sizzle reel. You probably have a chance not only to wear the outfits of, but actually meet the person who inhabited those clothes. At what point does that become, do you detach yourself from that? You have all this great reference, you have Lorene's stories, you have her screenplay, but you have to create a character. How does that evolution transpire?
I think you just surrender, and you don't think about it from the outside. I mean, I was kind of shocked when I did the first dubbing and I saw myself. I was like, oh my God, she's crazy. And he's so patient. Wow, you know. But I think you just, at a certain point, you're, as Lorene said, you know, you're playing the reality, and desperation is always pretty funny. And you don't comment on it, and you just trust that, you know, in the editing that it's there, and you don't really think about it. I think you just have to open up and be vulnerable and go for it.
And Lorene, when you're directing that, how do you surrender yourself? Because this is a person you know very clearly. This is a character you've written. At what point do you back away and let the actor do what she wants to do?
Oh, like right when I met her, but probably no. I mean, we talked about it at length in terms of, you know, it was a constant discussion and conversation and collaboration, but it's also Susan Sarandon. So I, you know, really was excited for her to take on this character, whatever pieces of it she felt attached to. I was also excited about, but it really just, I think we were just in sync, honestly. It didn't feel like, it wasn't a battle to be on the same page.
The script was clear. The tone was clear by who was cast. And really, she had so much more to worry about than trying to tell me not to be her mother, because we were shooting so fast. We had, you know, it was like acting camp. We were in no dressing rooms, no, you know, it was all very like hardcore, just in and out, few takes. So everybody, all the actors had to come, and they were prepared. And when you see what Rose did, she was so emotionally accessible and so ready to go, and you didn't get a lot of takes, and you know, we just had to do it. And so once we kind of started, I don't think there was a lot of like, what Beatle did I like in high school talk, you know. It was like, just do it and eat the egg and do it.
It was George, though, right?
Absolutely.
And JK, was there a particularly memorable off-duty motorcycle cop on set security that you found the soul of Zipper in?
You know what? Yes. And I'm, you know, like a lot of people, I've hung out with a lot of those guys, and they're always great guys to talk to.
They looked exactly like you.
Yeah,
they all have that mustache, and they're all super tan.
And the way they sit, even
That mustache was
even the way they
JK's
sit on their motorcycle on set, it was perfect.
Well, they're out there in the sun all day, and they get, and the mustache is left over from the '70s, when we all had them. Yeah. Did I answer the question?
You kind of did.
You did meet a guy. I remember.
I did, yeah, and I actually we were emailing or texting back and forth about his name, and of course I've forgotten his name, but there was a guy, not that I was working with actually, that was shooting a few blocks from my house, which people insist on doing, and I just went and walked over there and hung out with the guy, and he was very generous with showing me the motorcycle and giving me information, and I was just pumping him for character research.
Lorene, Joy, JK, and Susan, thank you so much for coming in, and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.